Hey everyone, welcome back to the Little Shop of Hoarders and the PDX Picker channel. I am Chris. Got some orders that have sold for me on eBay over the weekend. Also want to go over a really interesting pickup that I found at a flea market over the weekend. It's a real boom or bust kind of pickup. So I'm going to show you what I found, ask you to give me some tips and advice on what I should do to maximize the sales of this, and also maybe just give you the opportunity to laugh at my really bad purchase. So stick around after the intro song. We'll talk about what I bought and go over the things that I sold over the weekend.
Wanna buy that Farrah Fawcett poster? There's dispensers and a toaster. Don't know why. That kind of stuff you throw away. I'll sell on eBay.
All right, so as I mentioned, I went to a flea market. It was an indoor flea market. Found a couple of things like usual, especially in this area. Most of the items were really overpriced or just not that interesting. I think a lot of the people that go to that man the flea market booths in this area are older, retired people. And I've noticed that just they tend to stock things that are interesting to them, which are the older stuff from the 40s and the 50s, and a lot of that is just not very valuable anymore. The people that were interested in buying that are getting older, they're passing away, or they've already bought it, so they're just not buying those old things. But of course there are a few good things here and there. But I want to go over what I bought. I spent a lot of money on it. I'm sure I spent too much money on it. But it was partially because it was just something that was very rare. I don't know if I'm ever going to come across something like it again, so let's talk about what it was. I've done a little bit of research, and I found out the person that had the booth at the flea market, they must have gone to this gentleman's estate sale. Probably happened, I don't know. He passed away back in November, and he happened to be a somewhat well-known illustrator for everyone from Disney to Marvel to his own self-published comics and books. He illustrated Donald Duck comic strips that ended up in newspapers, I think in the 80s. He worked on modern things recently, some Disney shows like Jake and the Neverland Pirates, if you have any kids that used to watch that. I think it was like 10, 15 years ago that was on. After he passed away this past November, there was an estate sale, and I guess a bunch of the stuff that was being sold, this gentleman at the flea market picked it up. So let's take a look at what it is. Talk about how good or bad of a buy it was for me. So it's these 3 boxes here, and inside there's just a ton of stuff in here, and we're not going to go through all of it by any means because it'll take forever, but this is some interesting stuff. So this is one of his main intellectual properties. So this is the gentleman here, the illustrator's name was Bob Foster. Bob M. Foster, Robert Foster, all the different names he went by. Myra the Moose was a book that or a comic character that he created and wrote. I believe it started back in the 70s. Not super well known. And so here is what I believe to be the print version, or however you want. This is what the cover is for the first book. And you can see here it's got some dimensions on here. These are just cut out copies or something. I don't know. I don't believe this is an original drawing. This one isn't anyway. But so this book sells on eBay for I don't know, $8 to $12 ish. It's not super huge seller, but that's a pretty rare piece right there. Okay, now we do. There are some original drawings in here. These are original drawings. I don't know who that character is. It's not signed on the front. On the back it says Intro Vision, used in Outland. Here's definitely some original drawings. These are like storyboard type things. Typical GNU and Tiger 2. This is 1979 Robert M. Forster. This is an original drawing. Pencil, ink, there's whiteout on here. This is a copy of that same character from earlier. And we have this thing. So I'm assuming this is a cover of his. You see how it's like an overhead projector thing, like you would put on an overhead projector in your classroom. Kind of a weird title, Weird Moose Fantasy. Then it's got this on it. City Graphics, Wilshire Boulevard in LA. Of course it had to start raining, so I apologize for the loud rain noise on the roof. But let's keep looking. Look at these characters here. That looks like a Bullwinkle type thing. It says in handwriting up there, his something of moose kind. History of moose kind is what it says on the top there. You can just barely make it out. History of moose kind. But that's an original drawing as well. Okay, so that's that box. This box here is both obscure and potentially super interesting, but probably more on the too obscure side of things. This is actually the middle, somewhere in the middle. So the story that the person at the flea market was told by the person at the estate sale is that this is a full graphic novel or comic book, probably more like a comic book. That was an idea that Bob Foster had to get published, but it never was published. And you can see here it's in Spanish. So that's what makes it maybe a little too obscure. So this is an unpublished comic by Bob Foster. We have the cover here, and then just, here's page 1, page 2, etc. And this, it goes through here. There's, but again, these are all original drawings, or original colored in pieces anyway. I mean, it's got, you know, whiteout again on here. Like that right there is whiteout. A lot of pages. Inside back cover. And the back cover. Well, this is inside front cover, it says, but copyright. So this says, prepared for the National Foundation of March and Dimes for the Bank Street College of New York. Comida sin ritmo, version in Espanol for Phyllis M. Bourne. So, I don't know, is this... Comida sin ritmo is food without rhythm. So I don't know if this is an actual... Was this comic printed in English, and then this is just the Spanish version of it? I mean, because, you know, it's done for stuff in the United States. Confusing. Confusing, but super interesting. See on the back here, it's got everything, you know, here's his old address, Bob Foster in Salt Lake City, Utah. Doing a little bit of research on the background of this guy. He lived in Europe a bunch of times, lived in Paris, lived in Denmark, had quite an interesting life. Ended up retiring somewhat close to where I am in Silverton, Oregon. And the reason why it said that he retired there, according to this article, was because he was finally able to afford a house, because living so much, well, living abroad, he wasn't able to buy a house when he was in Europe. And then most of the rest of his life he spent living in the LA area. And in there it was too expensive. So when he retired, he finally was able to afford a house. So kind of an interesting behind-the-scenes look into the life of an illustrator. You've got this last box here. Again, won't go through everything, but there's just a wide variety of interesting pieces in here. So in between these two sheets is this transparency of Boots. I don't know if you can see it better. Boots the Cat in Hot Licks from 1979. Robert M. Foster. And then this is interesting. Look at this right here. It says, Marvel Comics. Illustration quality paper for regular comic pages. How cool is that? It's like the paper that they would draw their comics on for Marvel, and this is an original pencil drawing. Now this is, it says, Russ, call you later, Bob, on the back. I don't know if that has anything to do with this drawing. It's not signed, but just very interesting. This is hand drawn here. This snake looks familiar. Anyway, this snake looks a little bit familiar to me, but can't pinpoint it. Google Lens doesn't help me at all. Nothing on the back of it. This is interesting. This is not shooting art, for reference only. And we've got like a Popeye here. This says Nell Samcorn, whatever that is. There's another one of these that says photo on it. All original. And these are photocopies, but they're on this huge paper, so they were used for something important. This is what's his name? Mumbly the dog. Everybody remember him? In the 70s. Again, these ones are copies, so I don't know what that. I mean, I can't imagine that's hugely valuable. Oh, but this was super cool. Look at this. Excuse me. This like ray gun thing shooting at this car. I don't know. It's just super neat to me. This was on thicker paper right here. This is a drawing. I don't know what that is. This says Huberesque by Larry Huber. Coconuts. So I don't know. Yeah, Larry Huber, 1973. So that's a different guy. This was awesome. This is also a different thing. This is a signed print by Rick Geary, 54 of 100. This is called The Presidents of the United States, 1982. I guess it's just his interpretation of all the different presidents as animals. Got a ram here for George Washington. Thomas Jefferson was a grizzly bear, I guess. Abraham Lincoln was a hippopotamus. James K. Polk was a aardvark. Franklin Pierce, a seahorse. And ended with Ronald Reagan, because this was 1982. I guess he's a catfish. Nixon was a shrew, would be my guess, or a mouse. Eisenhower was a turtle. Kennedy was whatever that is, some sort of ram thing. So just, I don't know, that's cool. Not a lot of value, I'm sure. But now here's copies of this Huberesque by Coconuts, or Huberesque by Larry Huber. A bunch of those. The Seasick Adventures of Pontius Pirate by Bob Foster. These finally have some Donald Duck related things. I don't know. You'll have to, if anybody knows about any of this, please get in touch with me either via the comments or send me an email at pdxpicker44@gmail.com so you just help me with any of this stuff. These are, again, they're just copies, but this is obviously Walt Disney's Donald Duck, potentially something that has the most universal interest. There's, I think, 3 or 4 different versions of this. This is number 2, that one was number 1. Here's number 3, number 4. So, 4 of those. And then we got this stuff, which is, again, it's got this blue. I don't know if they photographed this or what. This is Little Myron Slumberland. So that's Myron Moose. That's his little, I guess, when he was younger. Okay, this is Nervous Rex number 10, The Milk of Amnesia, page 2. Here's a letter. This spin-off title, The Black Spot, would be an epic tale involving the professor in his quest to discover the source of the black spot. So let me know what you think. I'd be glad to elaborate or answer any of your questions. I look forward to your response. Sincerely, Bob Foster. So that's like a letter he wrote to maybe, what we got? Black Spot, Tales from the Pub, The Last Snake in Ireland, Squib, Humbug, and I don't know what that is, but it's super cool. Okay, we still have more stuff here. This, it's just, look right here, Disney comics. I don't know what that is, but Wow, there's some inappropriateness on here, I just realized. So there's a Disney, this is really interesting. Disney Comics, and there is full-on adult themes in that. Don't see that very often. So here's the Black Spot Chronicles. Gotta make sure there's no adult themes on here, but that was one of the titles he was referencing in that letter. And then here's, again, Disney Comics. Tales of Noble Northies. Look at that, just little sketch. More of this cool snake guy. Then we end with, there's a big, interesting stack of things here. We got this right here. This is some sort of storyboard type thing. Sketches, just outlines, laying out a comic of some sort. I mean, I love. You know, it's just, I saw this, I had to buy it. When am I ever going to see this again? This is crazy. This probably well before Bob Foster's time. I wish this was signed. I don't know if it really matters, but this is to Mr. Sylvan Beck at King Features. I see where the Connecticut Syndicate is announcing an early American color comic somewhat along the lines of our Johnny Tremaine. Since we released Johnny Tremaine on April 7th, we shall be scooping the competition by a comfortable margin. Maybe your sales department can derive some benefit from this. That's like a, gotcha, we're doing this first. From April 4th, 1957. And we've got Fanboy continues dialogue. Just, again, more storyboarding, original sketches. And then here we got this. This one I'm really excited about too. This is what appears to be the actual overlay or whatever, however you want to call it, for the cover of this, the third version of Myron Noose. If you look at this book, this is the exact drawing that was used for the cover, or the exact, whatever this plastic overlay is. It says, please use 100% cyan overlay as knockout for BG to print. See Myron number 1. This is Myron Moose number 3, front cover, 100%. And we got, this was kind of funny. This is a random, I don't know what these are exactly used for, but this is, I don't know if you can read that, from the Game of Muggers, 1981, Robert M. Foster. So he wrote the instructions, or outlined and made the instructions for this book, or for this game from 1981 called Muggers. And then another huge Boots the Cat Hot Licks thing. I'm going to cut, bits and pieces of this out, because otherwise I'm going to have 20 straight minutes of me going through this pile or more. But I saw it, I couldn't turn it down. I don't know who Bob Foster is, but I've learned some about him since. And it's really cool. It's a really, really cool piece of history to come across. There are, as I mentioned, and I'll put some comps up here and there, there are a few Donald Duck related items of his that have come up on eBay in the last couple of months. And they're selling for $40 or $50 a piece. Those are, I don't think anything the same as what I have. In many ways, I think they might be a little bit better because they are specific specific comic strip newspaper. Like, that's what was sent to newspapers. But all this stuff I have, it tells a story. It's really interesting. It's almost, I don't know. I'll tell you what, I tell you what I spent on it. I spent $400 on all of this stuff, which, it's a lot. It's probably more of like a personal collection price. And I don't even know if I want to break it up, because it is just so unique, and like I said, kind of tells a story. But Then again, I don't know, I would also like to put it in the hands of people who would appreciate it far more than I do. People that are big time collectors of illustrators and artists of this vein, maybe some Bob Foster fans specifically. So, like I said, either comment below or send me an email if you have any sort of insight on this type of stuff. I'd love to do the best that I can with it. So pdxpicker44@gmail.com is my email address. Let's go ahead and get into the orders that sold for me on eBay. In spite of me having that lull in the middle of the month where I wasn't really listing things for 4 days, sales have actually stayed pretty good for me. And I had another a repeat buyer. This is somebody who recently bought the Bona craft oils. They bought 3 more containers. So that was very exciting, very good news, because these are, again, a good chunk of money. So they bought 2 neutrals and a clay for right around $112 and some cents each. I thought I had gone in there. Well, first of all, I still have a sale going on them, which I could probably turn off soon. But I also thought I had gone in there and turned off the promoted listing, but I hadn't. So these, unfortunately, I still had to pay the promoted listing fee, ad fee on them as well. But the 3 of them together, before fees and everything, sold for $337.38 plus shipping. And again, at this point, pure profit on those. So the gift that keeps on giving. I was really nervous at first that I was going to hold on to these forever, but they just keep selling. And the fact that repeat buyers are buying them means that I know that it's good product, so I don't have to feel bad about it, even though it's kind of old. It's getting closer to baseball and softball season. I bought this catcher's mitt over the summer, paid $10 for it, and there was one comp for $100, and there's just not a lot of others. It's not a common mitt, but it's a nice one. It's a Mizuno catcher's mitt here. Well, it's the GXS 80, so it's a fast pitch softball mitt. Get a look at it here. Really nice condition, and ended up in my sale, but it still sold for $74.96 plus shipping. All the snow is gone. It took about a day and a half to melt, so it's all gone after a few days of craziness around here. This next item sold in my clothing bin. Number 26. This is a Mountain Hardwear base layer quarter zip, and paid $6.99 for this. At first, when I went to list this, I was really nervous because I didn't quite know how to categorize it, because it was just this thin material, which is exactly what base layer material should be. This is mint color. Looks like that right there. No idea if any of that is focusing. There's another better image of it there. Sold super quick in maybe a week for $22.99 plus shipping. I have a wide variety of interesting things that sold today. Is this A2? Another thing that I really contemplated keeping for myself, because I have some issues with my posture. But the lure of money won out again. So I bought this for, I think, $5.99. It's the Upright Go-To personal posture trainer. I guess you attach this to your back and it can somehow sense the angle of your back, or I don't know how it works exactly, but it connects to your phone and kind of gives you an alarm if it's detecting that you're not in the right posture. This was new in the package, sold for $30 plus shipping in like 3 weeks maybe. So very quick sale. I got that at my favorite thrift store. This kind of thing right here, this small electronic, new in the package. Oh, chef's kiss. I love selling this stuff so much. So easy to list, so easy to ship. Usually good money. If I could live off of that stuff, I would be a happy, happy man. This next item took forever to sell, probably because I was shooting for the moon on the price. And it ended up selling still for a really good price. It's going to be a real interesting one to ship. Maybe figure out how to pull it out of the shelf here. Went to an estate sale. I bought this maybe one other thing, which was a bracelet. I bought this for $2. They didn't know what it was or, anything about it, and even for $2, they were kind of contemplating, thinking that that was too high. But this is what it is here. This is a vintage from the 60s Garnier triple liqueur bottle holder. And you can see it has some in here, which, technically I should not be selling this with these full or partially full. But it's just the coolest display, I thought. But you can see it's never been opened, although leaking happening. And that sold for $64 plus shipping. So we got blackberry, golden liqueur, and mint. And like I said, it's going to be an interesting one to ship. I'm going to put some plastic wrap around here a whole bunch of times, and maybe some rubber bands or something to just try and contain. I'm just afraid this is going to leak everywhere. It already has leaked when I was storing it, not since I listed it, but after I listed it, or before I listed it, it leaked. So that's what's going to be interesting. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do to figure that out, but anyway, I'll let you know how it turns out when I hear from the buyer. Hopefully the buyer doesn't message me in 2 weeks saying that. I don't think they really care about the contents. I really hope they're not going to be drinking these, this liqueur from the 1950s or 60s. But it's going to be kind of nasty and sticky if it gets everywhere. I had another pretty good whatnot purchase that turned into a good sale. I bought this with a bunch of other shirts, and this one turned out to be a good one. I'm really cold on most anime-related shirts, or, well, I guess just anime-related shirts. But this one isn't anime, but I kind of thought it was when I bought it. This is a Huff shirt and Street Fighter collaboration. Looks like that right there. So that's Chun-Li from Street Fighter on a Huff branded shirt. Only size small, but that sold for $39.99 plus shipping on that one. So paid $7.50-ish and sold for $39.99. So that was definitely a good whatnot flip, which I think I'm about 50-50 on. Everything that I bought so far I've made money on, whether I'm making $1 or in this case closer to $25-ish. So things are going pretty okay from that, but I'm still not rushing out to do a bunch more sourcing at whatnot. Again, thought these were going to take forever to sell, and they still might, but starting to consistently sell more and more. This is another repeat buyer. Somebody's buying 2 more of the Lowe's independent service provider t-shirts that I bought. Paid about 10 cents each for these. Have probably 40 or so left. And those sold, actually this isn't a repeat buyer. That is somebody brand new buying them, so that's good. Those are size large, new in the package, $11.90 free shipping each, so times 2, $23.80. Free shipping, again, paid 20 cents. It's all profit at this point, but it's basically 20 cents or 10 cents per shirt on that. Last item of the day. Some of you viewers of my channel might also watch some of the other big resellers out there. I'm a big fan of ADH Dave. I just really like him. Not that he's necessarily the world's greatest reseller, but he's very entertaining. And he big time eBay seller, but now is going to 100% sell live selling through his Dibdit platform. But even prior to this, he would sell every now and then on Dibdit. And I bought a couple of items from him. And I'm also noticing, so he's now selling off all of his eBay inventory on Dibdit. And people are paying, in my opinion, way too high prices to resell these items. And there's nothing wrong if people are just doing it to be supportive of him, to just buy stuff to help him out, to buy stuff for personal use. But I kind of fell into this trap when I was sourcing 2 items that I bought from him, both of which I'm going to either break even or lose money on. He had this, again, this was a Dibbed It live auction maybe a month or so ago. Winston Cup 1991 Daytona 500 hat. Vintage, obviously, is from 1991. In fairly good condition. I think I paid like $11 for this. And that was my fault. But that's the thing with live auctions. You don't have time to comp things. If I had taken the time to comp this, I wouldn't have paid more than $2 for it. $3 maybe. It's not in super great shape, and the only reason I did sell it is because I just sold it low, or I priced it low. $13.99 free shipping on it, so I'm absolutely losing money on it. But there weren't that many that would sell. I mean, I think there were like 50 listed and 8 have sold or something like that. So it's not a great item. It's relatively common, surprisingly. I wouldn't think there'd be a lot of 40-year-old or 35-year-old hats like that out there, but there's enough that it's just not that scarce. So I just said, you know what, let's take a loss and get some money back. I've noticed a lot of other people are doing that, and again, like I said, I don't know if they're just supporting him to be nice, but I really hope they're not doing it to try and make a bunch of money off of the items that he is selling on there, because I would say when you factor in the cost of shipping, you're probably paying at least twice as much as you should for the items. So if you want to go out and support him, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but maybe don't do it for reselling purposes. That's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like it if you did. Subscribe to my channel for future videos like this one. And good luck with your reselling ventures that you are having out there. We'll catch you on the next video. Take care.